Hi, welcome to Brown Girl Book Lover. I'm Leslie and Murray. Today we have the lovely S.J. Sindu. We are talking about her book, The Blue-Skinned Gods. I'm going to read you a little bit about S.J. S.J. is a Tamil diaspora author of 2 literary novels, 2 hybrid chapbooks, and a forthcoming graphic novel. Ooh la la. Her first novel, Marriage of a Thousand Lies, won the Publishing Triangle Edmund White Award and was a Stonewall Honor Book and a finalist for a Lambda Literary Award. A 2013 Lambda Literary Fellow, Sindu holds a MA in English from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln and a PhD in English and creative writing from Florida State University. Sindu teaches at the University of Toronto Scarborough. Blue-Skinned Gods is her second novel published by Soho Press. Sindu, welcome to Brown Girl Book Lover.
Thank you so much for having me.
Tell us about Blue-Skinned Gods.
So Blue-Skinned Gods follows the story of this young boy named Kalki. He is 10 years old when we begin the novel, and when we end the novel, he's 22. So it sort of follows his growing up. Kalki has blue skin, and he is believed to be the last incarnation of Vishnu, born to cleanse the world of sin and lead us on to the next epoch. He's also believed to have healing powers. So he lives at an ashram in Tamil Nadu, India. He is under the control of his very domineering father, who makes sure that the world is going to know about Kalki. And we just follow a young boy who wrestles with his own divinity and his own loss of faith. And just his growing up as he experiences the world beyond the ashram.
I really like reading this book, and partly because we don't know if Kalki is a god or not. You never allow us to believe, right? Why did you do this?
So the book went through a lot of different iterations, and in a lot of iterations I was like, I don't want his, is he or isn't he to be the main focus. I wanted readers more to focus on like his relationships with his cousin and his mother and his father. I wanted them to focus on, is it fair to place this kind of burden on a young child, whether or not he's a god. So I wanted like the central question of the novel to be focused more on Kalki rather than on his divinity. And so, I went through multiple stages where, of crafting, of revision, where I was like, that question was more or less central. So like some iterations it was more prominent, and some iterations it wasn't. I like how it ended up finally, but I did want to sort of leave that as a mystery. And I think the novel can be read in multiple different ways because of it. And that was the part of the point, because with like the part of the thing about faith is that there is no proof, and there can never be proof. You can't prove or disprove the existence of gods. So, that I wanted to mirror that kind of aspect of faith in the novel.
I think that's the beauty of writers and writing. You can be in this gray area and it's allowed and it's okay. I think sometimes, how has the reception been from your family and others about you wrestling with these big ideas that sometimes people don't want to talk about?
I think I was very like cognizant of all of this, and I was really careful. The reception's been good, but again, like it's fiction, and there's a lot of wiggle room in fiction that it doesn't really exist when you're writing nonfiction or sort of historical fiction or anything. This is like pure fabrication. So even though I'm wrestling with really interesting and important questions about faith and religion, I think because it doesn't like directly attack anyone or any kind of faith, it's been mostly positive so far.
Oh, great. When Kalki is 10, which is awfully young, he's given a set of tests. How does this begin to affect his life?
So when he's 10, he's supposed to prove himself as Kalki, the incarnation of Vishnu. And he gets, these 3 tests put to him, and he doesn't know what the tests are going to be. So there's a sense of mystery there. But he also has this enormous burden put on him to pass these tests. And especially when he doesn't know what the tests are, it results in him really being stressed out about it. Right? He's stressed out. It seems like he fails his first test, and he, becomes really, really important to him to prove himself. He just wants his father to approve of him. And he wants to be a good child god, and he wants to fulfill everything that he's supposed to fulfill. And at the same time, the people around him are affected by these tests too. His cousin Lakshman, who is his best friend, gets jealous once Kalki starts to get even more attention than he already does. And Lakshman's always sort of in Kalki's shadow, and he doesn't like it. And so there's conflicts between them. As the ashram gains traction, Kalki's mother starts to sort of recede and disappear, and starts wrestling with her own depression, and so there's like Kalki's trying to take care of her as well. So there's just a lot happening around him. He's for a 10-year-old boy, he has a lot of problems.
I think one part of the book, when it was speaking about the ashram, and Kalki was reflecting on the ashram, and he said it became like this spiritual retreat for white foreigners. And I felt like it was a symbolism for like the crumbling of power and status in these post colonies, where like where the commodification of the other becomes a way of how they now sell themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think, part of it was talking about sort of this global spiritual industrial complex that has sprung up in the wake of a lot of people leaving organized religion. So, especially in westernized and worlds in the global north, a lot of people are turning to, sort of unorganized spirituality. But I think a lot of people who are raised in church environments still kind of miss that. They they feel like there's a part of themselves that's missing because they're no longer in part of these communities. And a lot, I've seen a lot of my friends who are, a lot of white friends, but also friends of color who have like gotten sort of sucked into these weird cultish practices that are coming out of India mostly, but are being targeted at Westerners. And like there's, and it doesn't have to be India, right? Like there's a growing interest in ayahuasca and other kinds of spiritual practices. But there's this level of engagement with it that is imperialism, that is just reiterating the same violences of colonization. And these countries like India, like they don't have a choice, right? Colonization stripped them of their resources, their values, like the crown jewels are still held by England, even though most of them did not come from England. And all of these museums in these former colonizer countries are filled with this wealth of artifacts and culture and history from the places that they pillaged. And the place that they pillaged, like, how are they going to develop their economy while they have to pander to and cater to the global north? So I wanted to explore that cycle too, that the post-colonial sort of self-commodification, the self-exotification, and presentation for consumption by imperialist forces.
What are 3 takeaways you would like to share about your book, or you would like readers to know about your book?
It always gets classified as fantasy, so please don't expect it to be fantasy. It is not. I also do write fantasy, but this is not fantasy. If you want fantasy, my graphic novel that's coming out is very squarely in the realm of fantasy. But this book is not. It is very much a realistic exploration of and mapping of the psyche of a character who believes themselves to be a god. The other thing is that the book is mostly focused on his relationships with the people around him. And the women in the novel are, I think, that was my focus, right? I still wanted it to be a feminist novel, even though it was about a young boy. And so the women characters around him are very strong, and they push him and challenge him in different ways. And he sort of becomes who he's supposed to be because of them. And I guess the third takeaway is that there's punk rock in the novel, and you wouldn't expect it, and it comes out, and like the last third of the novel, and some people hate this, right? So we hate it, apparently, according to Goodreads reviews. The last third of the novel is sort of a romp. It is adult Kalki trying to figure out who he is. And it takes the pace of adult life. Adult life moves very fast compared to child life, where things are sort of idyllic and still, and days seem to last forever. Whereas adult life, you blink and there's like 5 months, and you're like, oh no, what happened in the last 5 months? I don't remember. I didn't do anything important. And it does sort of pick up pace. So prepare yourselves for that.
SJ, thank you for joining me on Brown Girl Book Lover. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for your beautiful writing. I enjoyed our conversation. And thank you for repping. Just thank you for repping hard, repping everything hard.
Well, thank you.